You're listening to the Out and Back podcast. This is episode number 47. On this Between Reps show, we dive into training updates for both of us. We talk about the fall marathon storylines with the Chicago fields officially announced. We also discuss Josh Kerr's world record this past weekend. And we talk about, is it more impressive than Sebastian Solway's sub-2 in the marathon, which was the other world record set earlier this year. Then we dive into the U.S. Championships, a little track talk, some things we're excited to see this weekend, some things we're maybe disappointed aren't happening at the U.S. Championships. And then we finish it up with some great listener questions. With fall and winter marathon training blocks officially kicking off, if you're looking for some guidance from a professional runner to take the guesswork out of your training and tackle your next race, shoot us a message. Rory's over at Let's Tango, and I'm over at Thompson Training. Both of our websites are linked right below this. And lastly, before we dive into this week's episode, be sure to check out the Meteo Pace app, proud supporter of the show. We have both been using the app. We've been using the race reports, and we synced it with our daily training. It syncs right in with your Strava, your Garmin, your Coros account, and it shows you how to race a course depending on the elevation, on the wind, on all these things, the weather factors. You can also do the same with your daily training and plug it in. It shows you, perceived effort based on heat, based on wind, based on elevation gain throughout the run. And yeah, it's been a really useful tool to sync up with our daily training. Use code OUTANDBACK for a discount when you sign up. Enjoy the episode. All right, welcome back to Out and Back podcast. This is episode number 47. It's going to be one of the last episodes of July, probably the last episode of July.
Correct.
And yeah, we're both back in Flagstaff here training. I just came off of bluegrass running camp and a family vacation. So I've been on the road for the last 3 weeks. As if you've been watching the show, you've seen us not in our normal setting, but we're here back at our local running store, Run Flagstaff. Rory is in 10 times better shape than me at the moment. So yeah, do we want to start off with a little training talk?
Well, I think we can stay with you for just a minute. You're back in Flagstaff. Last time we talked training, you were on the rehab game for the Achilles, and we ran together this morning with our white whale of a guest that we're hoping to get on soon. You can guess who that is. And you said your Achilles, you haven't felt it in about a month. So where are we at in like the running journey, the comeback from a weird setback post-Boston injury and everything like that as you get back into Flagstaff?
Yeah, so yesterday I will say I got back. I did a 10-mile run right after my flight at Buffalo Park, and it was so nice and so relieving because I've been on the East Coast dealing with that heat and humidity like so many of you guys. And man, I hardly had to drop a sweat on my shorts when I got done with that 10-mile run where, yeah, the day before I went out for a 5-mile double, like pretty slow, easy pace with one of my buddies. And I was like just drenched the whole car ride home, still sweating.
So my favorite part of this is that you're calling Kentucky the East Coast.
Yeah, so like it's East Coast, it's hot, humid, it's, East Coast weather. But yeah, on the Achilles front, basically no Achilles pain for the past 4 weeks now, which has been awesome. I'm so glad that is kind of clicking. I went to see, basically similar to how we see Wes here. They have a guy in Kentucky named Kyle Bowling. He works with the Kentucky track team, and he's a runner himself. And he actually looked at it under the ultrasound, and he says you can still see the tear there, but he's like, let pain be your guiding factor there. So he's like, it's probably has gotten a lot better, but sometimes imaging is a little bit. We should go off how we feel versus just off of imaging. But yeah, I've kind of been ramping back up slowly. Last week I ran 70 miles in 6 days while being on my feet all day at running camp. This week, I'm basically diving right back in. It'll be my first time getting back to 2 workouts a week. I built up the long run is up to 15 miles. I'll probably try to go 17 or 18 this weekend as long as things keep progressing the way they are. So I think I'm pretty much the green light to dive right into fall marathon training, which is great.
I want to talk a little bit about adjusting our goals / targets when things don't go according to plan. I think we all draw up like the dream, like 6-month plan, 1-year plan, 2-year plan. And in this sport, it's often a 4-year plan built around Olympic cycles. And coming off Boston, I think you were highly motivated post PR, fired up for a big summer of road racing. You were going to use the bluegrass running camp as a down week before entering a big block for a fall marathon. And it didn't go that way. Instead, you spent the last 2.5 months rehabbing, cross-training, getting back into a groove, and now you're kind of at square one a couple months later than you were planning on it. Tell me a little bit about the mental side of that, and then also like how you adjusted in real time, because I think every runner has to do this at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I spent nearly 6 weeks where I didn't know what the next day was going to look like. So that was definitely kind of difficult because, yeah, I'm very much a big planner. As you know, I like to put my training calendar together and like stick to it and hold myself accountable to it. But when I was dealing with the Achilles stuff, like I was like, all right, I'm going to run basically until I feel my Achilles. Some days that was 3 miles. Some days it was 6 miles. I didn't really know what the next day was going to hold. But the one thing I knew was going to be consistent was that I was going to get out the door. I was going to do something, and I was going to absolutely, without any like variation, going to nail my rehab routine. And after about like 3 weeks of really nailing the rehab routine is when I started to see a lot of progress. And that's where I kind of went from those 4, 5, 6 mile runs with no intensity to being able to ramp the mileage up a little bit, do some little baby workouts, put some steadier running in. And I think that's the one thing that kind of kept me going. I think a lot of times people start to do these, rehab plans or rehab exercises. They do it for a week. They don't see an immediate result, especially something like a tendon. Tendons take way longer to heal than bone or muscle or anything like that. So you just have to be consistent with it for a long period of time. And yeah, just know that you're going to have to adapt and kind of roll with the punches, which I think is probably a good life lesson. Like I had a really good block last year for CIM with no interruptions, had a really good block for Boston with no interruptions, kind of got lucky in the sense that, I basically had 12 months of complete non-interrupted high level training. And then, a little 6-week blip is not ideal, but I did have to, adjust my summer plans. But yeah, I'm still going to be back in plenty of time for a fall and winter marathon. I got some other races I want to do on the calendar that I'm trying to get all that nailed down basically over the next 2 to 3 weeks. And then, kind of have that schedule put together and put together my plan and then start attacking it.
Yeah. Races are rapidly approaching for the fall season.
It's crazy how I feel like we were just in the Boston buildup, and now it's like, all right, here we go again.
Yeah, it happens fast. I felt like this off season, if we want to call it that, marathoners kind of go through like a cycle of reload and recharge, and it just kind of feels like it's never ending, and it just stacks on itself. But I'm excited because I am in the point in my build where I can start to feel excited about the next goal race. And that's kind of, we've alluded to it a few times on this podcast, but I'm getting ready for the hour run in Belgium. That's going to be the next big goal for me. I've been doing a lot of track workouts, a lot of threshold on the track, a lot of laps on laps on laps to prepare for 1 hour on the track, and doing a lot of actually Achilles and calf strengthening work just to try to get ready for that.
I was going to say the thing that makes me the most nervous about that is having to run in spikes, right? Because do you know what spike you're going to wear yet?
So I have my Puma spikes that I've ran my 10K PB in and my mile PB in and my 3K PB in. So I have that spike that is tried and true for me. But there's a development spike that I just worked out in for the first time earlier this week, and it's sick. So
you had a really good workout from what I saw. So
yeah, it's a sick spike, and it'll be a little bit better for the hour because it's a little bit more of that. Like we see this movement in the track space where spikes are starting to look a little bit more plush and cushy. That's what this is. So I can't get into the details, but I have a prototype spike that I'm hoping is cleared in time for the hour run because I think it'll be a little bit easier on my lower legs. But we're doing all the work. Like I'm going to be on the track tomorrow morning running hard for some certain amount of volume that'll feel like a lot, but just practicing that patience on the track is what I haven't, we haven't talked in detail about what that hour run means for me, but I'm basically number one base hit objective is a Canadian record, which I think is 19.6K. So I should, in theory, obliterate that.
Right? Somebody's run, you run sub 60 for the half marathon twice. So I would be expecting you to at least get to 13.12 miles on the track.
Yeah, I think that's possible. And I think in my wildest dreams is I'm in the race in the last 10 minutes with Gressier, who's going for the world record. I am under no illusion that me and Gressier are on the exact same level of talent or capabilities, but I am under the illusion that I like to enter every race with the goal of being there when it matters. So I got to do a lot of work between now and September 4th, but the goal for me is to dial it in and get as fit as I can, kind of like how I did before Houston, where I just kind of like put in like a really specific 4-week block, tried to get as fit as I could for sub 60. I'm going to do the same thing here, and that'll springboard me into my fall marathon, which we can talk a little bit about fall marathons next if you want to.
Yeah, I think also just to backtrack for the listeners out there. So super shoes that we wear in the marathon are not track legal. So a track legal shoe has different standards at the pro level. So like anybody you see at, US champs and diamond leagues and stuff like that, the shoes and the track spikes they wear for those races have to meet certain standards, just like how, if we run a marathon, if you win a marathon, your shoes are getting taken, sent to the IAAF, inspected, make sure the stack height's not too high. So basically a whole nother set of rules for the track. And that's why, that was like the first thing I thought of when you told me you were doing the hour run. I was like, what are you going to wear?
Because even though an hour run is so different than the rest of the track races, they still enforce the exact same track specific.
Yes, no fast R3 out there.
If I could wear the fast R3, that'd be a no-brainer for an hour. I know that shoe's tried and true for that. But so that is one of the nuances of the professional world. Is I actually coach, we both coach a handful of probably like age groupers that still jump on the occasional track race. I know the Life and Stride boys have their track meet coming on next week, but there's no rules for the everyday guy to step to a track race and wear his Alpha Flies or his Adios or whatever, or Fast R's. But for us, we have to follow the World Athletics Code, or else we're not allowed on the track.
And then the records don't get ratified and all that kind of stuff. But also if there's anyone in the Kentucky area or anywhere, I don't know if we're going to call Kentucky East Coast. I know Joanna is going to make an appearance. Griff Duncan, I think, is going to make an appearance at the Life and Stride track night. It's going to be Saturday, August 1st. They're putting on a 5K and a 1 mile race. They're working with a high school there. Seems like it's going to be a really cool event. I love
pop-up track races.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think Floberg put out a YouTube video not too long ago where he raced a mile on like a pop-up Chicago track race, and it's kind of seems like a pretty similar vibe to that.
New York City has these a lot. Boston just had one with the Tracksmith, did like a Tracksmith 5000 in Boston.
Tracksmith does that Twilight series. They've been doing that for a couple of years now. There's usually like Boston, New York, LA, Chicago, like some of the big cities. So if you're in the area looking for something to do on August 1st and you want to go rip a mile or 5K, go check it out. I'm sure they would love to have you guys there.
Yep. All right. Well, should we pivot from our race schedule to what just came out today as we're recording? We saw the Chicago Marathon field announcement, and that's exciting because there's a lot of nuggets in there. Basically, we can break down who's going to be there, what we expect to be the big storylines going into that race, and then also what the lack of names on that means, like who we don't see on that list. What does that mean for where they're actually going to end up racing this year? And we can do a little bit of guesswork, but I think my first takeaway from this, if we're going to do two gender side, my men's takeaway was this is a stacked American men's field, and there should be some fast men coming out of this one, specifically Hicks, Young, Mari, Simbasa, G-Rupp, Alex Meyer, Hoff Knight, could go on. But, and then on the women's side, I thought the biggest thing was Sharon Lokedi.
Yeah.
Not doing New York or for the first time.
Yeah, Sharon, my teammate Sharon Lokedi has won both New York City and Boston. I think she's been on the podium at a major 5 times now. I think her worst finish ever, she had an off day at New York 2 years ago when it was like 9th.
Yeah.
And that was like her worst marathon she's ever run. Yeah. So yeah, world class. Probably I would put her up there in the top 2 or 3 marathoners currently active right now. She's 4th place at the Olympics. You win New York, you win Boston back-to-back years. Like she's a racer. Yeah. This is going to be a totally new challenge for her. I actually was talking with some people who would know. They're going to ask, the top women are going to be asking for somewhere between 2:12 and 2:14. That's going to be the pace requested. So it's basically Sharon's trying to figure out, do I want to bring my own pacers? Do I want to go with those groups, trying to figure that kind of stuff out? It will be very interesting just because she's such a good racer. If you look at the Olympic marathon and you look at New York and at Boston, she's excelled at all 3 of those. Those are not time trial races. Those are non-paced races. So I think this race for her, this buildup, she's in Kenya. She's coming back here in 2 weeks' time to basically put in as much work as she can before before Chicago, and I'm very excited to see how fast she can go because, yeah, I mean, she's run 65 flat in the half, 65.00.
So her on paper PB is 2:17 from Boston when her and Helen Obiri were running like 440 miles down.
Shattering the course record there.
Yeah. What would you place the over under if you were like, here's the predicted time over under betting line? I would say for me, it's got to be like 2:15.00.
I was going to say 2:15.30, and I'm taking the under.
Yeah, I would have said 2:15.00, and I still would have taken the under. I think she's going to run between 2:12 and 2:14. I think she'll be on the podium again. I hope she gets a win at a race like this because it'd be a signature, proof in the pudding that.
Yeah, has anyone ever won all 3 majors on American soil?
Probably not Kipchoge.
We need somebody out there look it up and let us know. That would be pretty epic. But there are some other big names like Bridget Koskai's in it.
Yeah, former world record holder Bridget Koskai.
I believe she was the one asking for 2:12. So
yeah, I mean it's going to be fast. I think Sharon with her 2:17 was 5th or 6th on the descending order list. So definitely stacked.
It's kind of crazy to see her on these marathon lists where she's like outside of the top 5 sometimes even. I'm like, what list is there that she's outside the top 5? But
she has never been to Valencia or Chicago or Berlin. So this is the first time she gets to test herself in that setting. To flip it back over to the men's field, from the international side, there was, to me, the big splash names are Masai, our fellow Flagstaffian that was a podium finisher last year, and his teammate, Adrian Wildshoot, making his debut, which I thought Adrian was going to debut in New York. That was my prediction, just based on the fact that he won the New York half. Yeah. But he's going to go to Chicago, which means he's probably going to throw down something really nasty for a debut. That guy's one of the best runners in the world. Suguru back to racing marathons in the U.S., which is exciting. One of our favorites.
Every time we talk about Suguru, I know I've told this story at least once on this podcast, but I have to tell it again for anybody that hasn't heard it. It was after the 2021 Olympics. I was new in Flagstaff. We were doing a workout down in Sedona right after basically the Olympics. It might have been sometime in that fall. And I was getting ready for my marathon debut. And Suguru showed up to the track, worked out with us. And on the cool down, he speaks pretty good English. And I was like, I thought you were retiring, because he put out that he was going to retire after the Tokyo Marathon. And he just kind of laughed and he's like, no. And here we are 5 years later, and he is, he just ran 2:04 for a lifetime.
He broke the Japanese record again.
So, yeah, far from over for Suguru. But I do think
Caplimo and Caputo as well.
That's going to be, that's going to be huge headliners. But to talk about the American field, because I think, like you said, that's kind of the story here, is how many good Americans are in this race. Some of Charles Six, people are going to be fired up to see if he can, replicate what he did at Boston. Same thing with Clayton. He's been at the top for a while. But some things I'm really excited here. Can Vincent Mori back up his 2:05? I think that is probably the biggest storyline. The second one, maybe like a little bit, it's kind of crazy to say lesser known, but our guy, Bia Simbasa, ran 2:06, has been dealing with some injuries, is now back to full-fledged training.
He's racing this weekend.
Racing Big 7. I think he's a surprise name that he's just so quiet and so like humble. I feel like he flies under the radar. But if you pay attention to the U.S. road racing scene, he's been a menace for the last 5 or 6 years on the scene. He's run 2:06 in the marathon. He's run sub 61 in the half. If he's finally back healthy and at full force, I think he's going to be right up there mixing it up in Chicago. The
redemption arc of Alex Meyer is one that I'm interested in. Weird showing for him at Boston. He was in that lead group with us, and then at 25K, I think he just stopped. And he looked like a man possessed in the build to Boston, running really well at New York and Houston. And I still believe in his talent and think he's a great racer. And I'm excited to see if he can put it all together for a marathon on U.S. soil against the top names. So between Hicks, who I assume Hicks and Young are both thinking American record. Clayton wasn't shy about wanting the American record last year before he got hurt before Valencia. He surprised us with how well he ran at Boston this spring on a short build. If everything's been good and healthy, I'm sure that's his target. And Hicks, based on Boston, it would be foolish if he didn't think 2:04.40 something is in the cards on a good day in Chicago. Yeah, Chicago is very weather dependent.
We've had 2 or 3 good Chicago weather years in a row, so I'm hoping it can hold out for one more for these guys. But yeah, that's one toss-up you kind of always have. You could catch a hot, windy day in the Windy City.
Yep.
Early October, but you never know. A couple other guys on this list. So CJ just ran sub 2:10 at Boston. He was kind
of been quiet for a couple of years, though.
Been pretty quiet, but he was kind of a Chicago marathon machine for a while.
Yep.
So it's going to be
That's where his
interesting to
PB's from.
see how that return goes. Daniel Mesfam, another guy who Flagstaff based. Never know what you're going to get. You're going to get 208. You might get a DNF. You might get a 215, but you might get a 208.
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting one.
He won his race that he ran his PB in, I think.
Dublin. Yeah. It was a Dublin Marathon in 208. And that was just last October. Another guy kind of, he's very up and down as far as if he's healthy, he's good. So that'll be an interesting one to watch. Trains with the McCurdy crew here in Flagstaff. And then Murphy Smith is the other guy on the list.
I didn't know who Murphy Smith was, but
I'll tell you exactly.
208.58. I was like,
all right. So story time back to the Boston Marathon this year. I'm like so locked in on this like 5 mile stretch through Heartbreak Hill, right? And not many people are really passing me. I'm catching a couple people.
Yep.
But then 2 guys come flying past me. And I latched onto them for about a mile. And then as soon as we got to Heartbreak, they just kept going. And I was just maintaining. And
G-Rupp and Murphy Smith.
G-Rupp and Murphy Smith. And they never looked back. They put a minute on me basically from the top of Heartbreak to the finish line. So in the last 5 miles.
We find a way to mention Galen Rupp in every podcast. I think that's, we are somehow, some way keeping Galen Rupp's legacy alive.
G-Rupp.
But I also, one last shout out on the men's American field is the return of Zach Panning, a guy that in 2024 made the race at the Olympic trials and since then has been battling like pretty terrible injuries. And I just looked at his Strava before this and he's like stacked consistent like 80 to 90 mile weeks all summer. And that guy is a workhorse. If he's healthy, if his body's working, I can only imagine like the motivation he has being sidelined for, a year basically.
Yeah. Yeah. I think something that's interesting maybe to follow with Zach. I do feel like they've been around for a long time and Kevin Hansen definitely has his like, here is our marathon block. They do like kind of similar workouts each time. And it's like, all right, these are our key workouts we're going to hit. These are the big things we look for. I'm going to be curious to kind of follow because they post all their stuff on Strava as well. If they're going to deviate from that at all, or if it's going to, because like Zach was at a very, very high level and he was smashing those sessions. I could almost see like, okay, if I'm doing the same marathon block again, and I'm not maybe quite where I was in 2024, it's almost like a little bit disheartening, right?
Yeah.
If you're like not hitting, you're like, oh, I know I had this race of my life at the Olympic trials and like, was so close to like sealing the deal there. You know what kind of fitness you have to be in to do a performance like that. So I'm curious. I think that's something kind of, maybe like the insiders are going to be following. Like, are they going to do the same exact buildup, giving the same exact workouts? Because that's something that I feel like they very much have their system and they wash and repeat their system. And it works, it's a very good marathon.
Similar to how Coach Heistrom approaches marathon blocks. Like they have the same workouts that they hit at the same time frame. Most builds, there's small tweaks, but it's kind of the old school mentality of like, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Here's what we do. This has worked. This has produced good marathons in the past. But I love like the way Zach Panning runs. It's kind of similar to CJ Albertson. They're both Brooks brothers, but I think that'll be an exciting storyline to watch is his return. On the women's U.S. Side, there's not as many big names. I think
Sarah Hall was kind of she has the
top
PR,
PB. Susanna Sullivan, Des Linden, which I'm like, is Des Linden racing? Like, I thought she retired from pro
I thought
running.
She was kind of doing the more ambassador type of role, but I mean,
maybe
never doubt Des. So
maybe she got the itch after like fun running a 2:36 in Boston. But Natasha Rogers, who was the top American at Chicago last year, Molly Bourne, who won CIM.
Yes, Molly Bourne won CIM, has been running. She also was going to be on that World Championship half marathon team due to the course going the wrong way and stuff. She ended up winning. I believe she ended up winning the race, but she would have been fourth.
Yeah. And then Dakota Popane, probably the most notable name also on this list. Emma Grace Hurley debut. That's pretty huge. So
So another maybe like under the radar if you don't pay attention to the U.S. 10-mile champs and U.S. 25K and all these road races that kind of happen. Emma Grace Hurley has been basically on a 2-year tear of building her way up from she left the track, started doing these road races. Was winning like the 5K and the 6K and then the 8K and then she's kind of worked her way all the way up, and now she's also on that world half team that's headed to Copenhagen, which interesting timing is only 3 weeks before Chicago.
Yeah, this is part of the reason why I didn't want to do Chicago this year was because I am committed to Belgium, and I'm committed to pending selection because Athletics Canada has not selected their team, but I assume I'm selected because I hold the record. I want to do Copenhagen as well this year. And so I was like, I don't want to go to Europe because I'm going to stay in Europe between Belgium and Copenhagen. I was like, I don't want to go to Europe for 3 weeks, come back to the US, try to squeeze in like one more hard workout and then show up. I would imagine like under sharpened. Like I would be worried about that. So it just didn't work for me this year with Chicago. I wanted to be back there running fast, but for other reasons as well, like specifically the Olympic window, I was like, between that and the travel, I was like, Chicago doesn't make sense for me.
Yeah, Chicago and Berlin, I feel like both can be just tough sometimes timing wise to make work. Like you have to, we were talking about that this morning, like here in Flagstaff's not the worst deal because it's not that hot, but like you have to train in like the hottest, humidest time of the year for most people. So yeah, I love a late fall, early winter.
Late fall marathons is like if you live, I don't know what would be the southern point south of DC and below. You should probably not run marathons that are before November 1st or before November 1st. So like October marathons, because you have to do a thick portion of your hard work in September and August. And the way I view that is like the quality of your long runs are so suffering unless you're a treadmill fiend and you're like okay with doing that. Or unless you're just tough as nails, there's some people that just don't get bothered by heat. But
yeah, I've been talking to a lot of athletes I coach who are, I got a couple people going to Berlin, more than a couple going to Chicago, but then I also have a big group going to, I think Indy is where I have the most people going. And I'm like, that one makes perfect sense. Like early November, you kind of still have to do some of this training now in the crappy weather.
Phase.
But like the weather's going to break sometime in, late August, beginning of September. And like all of a sudden you're going to feel like a superhero. So we've been kind of making adjustments for the people that don't really have that option. Like whether, hey, we're going to do the long run on the treadmill or quality stuff or, figure out a way to make it work, make pace adjustments, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I love a late fall, early winter marathon for sure. Are you starting to map out your fall or winter marathon, but you're feeling a little bit lost? Shoot us a message over at Let's Tango or Thompson Training. When you choose to work with a professional coach, you're taking the guesswork out of your marathon build. So all you have to worry about is putting in the work day after day. You're also working with professional athletes who have been involved at the top level of the sport for 15 plus years, not just some online guru who started running last year. If you want to break through in your next race and want qualified guidance, send us a message. Rory is over at Let's Tango Coaching, and I'm over at Thompson Training. We have links to both of our websites in our show notes right below this. We'd love to set up a discovery call with you, go over your training history, go over your goals, answer any questions you may have about our coaching styles before you hire a coach. We hope to hear from you soon. Good luck.
So notable not on the list Americans on both sides. I want to just touch on this because we can infer that most, if not all, of these not on the list Americans are running New York.
Yeah.
In the US, if you're an American, you probably have two choices based on financial incentives to run. It is New York or Chicago. That's just the way it works in the pro field. So when I see no Mance in Chicago, I think, oh, maybe he's in New York, which maybe I hinted at that in the last episode. I see no Joe Klecker. I see no Zuhair Talbi, which means if we can keep these guys healthy, we get the Zuhair versus Mance that everybody wanted after Boston, which I think is going to be the most exciting thing of the fall is like, can Zuhair keep his role going and can Mance return and reassert dominance in the North American marathon space?
That will be a fun one to follow, especially because like I know Mance likes to race a lot and do like the New Haven 20K and stuff like he did before.
He's doing Copenhagen. He's signed up.
Right.
He got selected.
Oh yeah, that's right. He did. Yeah, I forgot he got selected for that. So yeah, I think that'll be interesting to see. Yeah, we can kind of probably track a couple of those early season races for Mance and see how things are going. He does seem
his
like
workouts
online.
Look good.
Yeah, he looks good from what we've seen. So yeah, that'll be a fun one to follow. Assuming it's always, there's probably a 99% chance though if he's not on the Chicago list, unless I don't know Valencia or the Indy Marathon came out with a big appearance fee for Mance, which
and
I guess isn't impossible. But.
For the women's side, Jess McLean not on the list, Annie Frisbee not on the list. Fiona O'Keefe not on the list. I'm trying to think of other big names that might. Oh, Emily Sisson. Like these are the people that we can probably assume are
Steph Bruce
in New York. Yeah,
Steph kind of hinted at what she was going to do when she was on the show a couple weeks ago too. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure probably four or 5 weeks time, we'll have the New York list as well. And then we'll kind of be able to compare the fields and see, which race is a little bit deeper, which one, does an American have a chance to make a podium in? I think those are going to be some big storylines. It does seem like the men's side of the marathon, there is a lot of up and coming stars where, maybe we'll get a Charles Hicks on a podium. Maybe we'll get a Klecker or
Vinny
Mari, Ethan Schuley. I don't know. Maybe we'll see one of these guys who
Mari action,
who have a chance to make a podium or do something crazy. Obviously, we've said it before, but everybody has like good performances. But I think something that defines your career is, can you do it multiple times? Can you do it more than once?
The best show up ready to go every time they're on a start list.
Like, I ran 209 in Boston, but I don't, I want to run 209 several times, or I want to, keep getting faster. I don't want that to be like, okay, I ran 209 once, I'm a 209 guy for the rest of my life. I don't want to have to worry about trying to do that again. So these guys that, ran 204, 205, 206, like, all right, can you go do it in a fast race at Chicago? Yeah. Can you go compete with the best in the world at New York? I think that's going to be an interesting thing to follow.
I was teammates with Ryan Hill back when I was on NAZ Elite, and he used to say, you should drop your PR because that was the best you ever were. Like, that's like a lightning in a bottle day for you. So you're as good as your second best performance. And I kind of like that because it's like anyone can get hot for a minute. It's another thing to show consistency. And if you look at the best people in our sport, if you take away their best performance, they still have historical careers. They're not defined by one moment, but by many.
It's like, we were talking about Sharon earlier. Like, all right, you take away this year's Boston win from Sharon. What does she have? Well, she still has another Boston win. She has a New York win. She has a New York podium, and she has
Boston second,
fourth place at the Olympics. So you take your top 3 average, and that's what your PR is.
Yeah, drop the worst, drop the first. Create a median, out of that, the remaining races, and that's how you find out how good and consistent an athlete truly is. I think we've exhausted the fall marathon talk.
I believe so.
In the current scene of sport, there's not a ton going on as we speak, other than what we are anticipating this weekend as we speak. The U.S. Champs are happening, and last time we spoke, we discussed a little bit about Kerr's record attempt. And since then, he ran it. It was not a record attempt. It was a record successfully taken. And I will say, not only was it super entertaining to watch, but like what it takes to call your shot months in advance.
Yeah, months in advance.
Put all the media out there, show your preparation, keep doubling down, and then to deliver.
Yeah.
One of the coolest things that's happened in a long time.
I would definitely agree with that. I watched the race in an auditorium with 250 high school kids, and they loved it. They were eating it up. Before the race came on, they were showing the intros, how they do at the track meets, and Kerr got a big round of applause. We were in Louisville, Kentucky, where Yard Naguse is from. We had, I think, 5 or 6 kids that same high school as Yard. So Yard got a massive cheer. I think a lot of us were cheering for Yard. Just the camp was in Kentucky. It's a bluegrass running camp, so that kind of makes sense. A lot of Yard fans there. Simeon Birnbaum, who ended up dropping out, probably got the biggest cheer during the intros. But it was crazy.
It's like Ja Morant in the NBA for a couple of years ago.
People, the high school kids loved the Simeon Birnbaum. Was in the race. I was talking smack to him afterwards. I was like, where was your boy at? What were you guys doing?
He was on the infield watching. He wanted to witness history, not be a part of it.
That's true. But so Kerr, perfectly paced race. Perfect setup by Kidder.
Did you see his 200 splits? Every single one of them was like just a hair under or over 28.0. Yeah. It was like 27.7-ish. I think his fastest one was his last 200, which was like 27.3.
Yes. I saw he said the last 150 meters, he lost hearing. It was his body eliminating things that he didn't need to get to the finish line, is what he said. So I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah.
What else was eliminated in the last one?
It was just cutting off his senses to get him to the finish line. But yeah, what a crazy race. I did think for a second there, the pacer stepped off. He still had 600 meters to go. I'm like, 600 is a long time at this pace with you in the front. And at the time, Yard looked really good, just sitting right behind him. And I was...
It was with 300 to go. I was like, okay, he's got it. But at 500 to go, I was like, I don't know. This is going to take a really special last lap.
Yeah, and he just blew those guys away the last 400, which is, incredible to do, especially from the front. Very impressive. Hats off. I think I said I did not think he would get the record. So,
I thought, dude,
It's just, it's a world record for a reason. Like, it should be incredibly, incredibly hard to get. So when I said that I didn't think Kerr was going to get the record, I'm not knocking Kerr. I'm just saying, like, yeah, it's a world record for a reason.
I'm currently wearing, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see this. I'm wearing my Josh Kerr black Amazfit band as we speak. So, and I don't know if you saw that, but he wore that blinged out Amazfit watch, which was super sick.
So they had the diamonds in it.
Yeah, they put Perry jewelry diamonds around the ring of the watch. That I thought that was epic. And obviously, like, if I'm
might have slowed him down a couple tenths.
Yeah,
put some diamonds.
I mean, it's offset though, like the drag of the diamonds plus, but the aura of them offsets that. So I think it's worth it. Tade wears like designer watch as well. He's sick.
Yeah, I saw not to dive too far into the cycling thing. I saw they did a whole breakdown of all of Tade's gear, all the components on his bike to basically add up what
would it cost to cosplay as Tade Pogacar.
Yeah, and so they go through this whole thing, they piece it all together, and then like the last thing was a $250,000 a Richard Mille watch, and they're like, yeah, all right, so the total comes out to 250 plus like 18,000.
yeah. So you can almost get there, but you can't afford the watch. Most likely.
Afford the watch. Yeah.
So I think there's two big picture things to take away from Josh Kerr's. We can go into like actually, I think there's three big picture things, and we talked about this on the run this morning. Number one, will he get the 1,500 meter record? Because I think you cited everybody who's broken the mile record has also later on broken the 1,500 meter world record.
Yeah, I saw, I think it was one of the John Galt articles on Let's Run was talking about that after it. That everybody who's broken the mile world record has also at some point in their career broken the 1,500.
And you might say, well, duh, of course he can do that. But here's the
full second faster.
Yeah, he went through 1,500 and 327 point. He would have to go over a full second faster. And you might go, well, that extra 109 meters. I don't think the 109 meters is as strong as the 1 second difference. I mean, I might be wrong, but if that race had just converted to a 1,500, does he run 326.00 or 325 high? I don't know.
I will say
that's different.
So one thing that makes me think he does have a good shot at it, though, is he did that 1,200 meter time trial in 2:42, right?
Yeah.
So if you can go through 1,200 and 2:42, I feel like you got a chance at the 1,500.
Just 60 to close.
Yeah. So what is that? What's 2:42 to 3:26? Whatever that. We needed
300 more
Scott,
meters.
Do some math over here. We need to do some math for us.
You would need a
39?
44 last 300.
Oh, yeah. So he could do that.
Yeah, 44 last 300.
But it's the same thing, though. You have to get the perfect weather, the perfect pace, the perfect setup on the day, which is, that's a hard thing to do.
Other people will want in on that 1,500, maybe more so than they did on the mile. It felt like
his only competition there was yard, it seemed like, in that race.
There was no Jakob, no Laros, no Cam Myers. There's a lot of people that are running really. I would have loved to have seen Cam Myers with the run he had at Pre in that race. That would have been epic to just have the guy who seems to be in the best form at the moment in that. But the other big picture thing is earlier this year we had the marathon world record. And now we have the mile world record. And I think this is another Let's Run topic. Shout out Let's Run for giving us good topics here. What's more impressive, the mile world record by Josh Kerr or the marathon world record by Sebastian Sawe? And the argument for Kerr that was laid out on Let's Run was that it had been 27 years since that record had been broken. So the longevity of the record itself is more impressive, whereas the marathon world record kind of has been getting broken every other year.
Yeah. I'm still going to go with the marathon. I'm obviously a little bit biased as a marathoner, but I do think there's something to it. If it was like the 800 breaking 140, the marathon breaking 2 hours, if Kerr was breaking 340, then I think, it's just like when you change a whole digit, I think that is pretty, that kind of sets it apart. And then also, I would want to go back and say, it's been a 27-year record, but how many legitimate attempts at it have there been where there's a legitimate attempt at the world record in the marathon probably twice a year?
I'll go out and say this. The 1,500 record would be equivalent to or greater than the marathon world record because it is more frequently contested. The mile is not an Olympic event. It is an off-distance event. It is a legendary event. It is one of the most famous events because, the Roger Bannister sub 4, all the people here in the US, at least, this is their what's your mile time? What's your marathon time? Those are the two most important questions you can ask an endurance athlete.
Yeah. And I think it does. So going back to the Roger Bannister thing, him breaking 4 for the first time, people talk about that still than they would talk about the previous world record, right?
Yeah.
Like Roger Bannister breaking 4 was a massive barrier.
Do you know the next guy that broke Bannister's record?
No idea.
No, I don't either. And it's because it was.
So I do think breaking 2 hours is something, maybe will stand the test of time more. People will talk about that just because you're changing a 2 hour to a 1 hour or something.
Last big picture part of the Kerr. Where was Jakob during Kerr's record and what did he think?
Do you think he watched live?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I think he's training in
Chiavana
right now.
And
So
St. Moritz.
Yeah. He probably was watching on his laptop like the rest of us, I would guess.
Yeah. I like to think that gave Jakob like a little extra juice for a week at least, maybe even a month. Like there's going to be like a little extra pep in Jakob's step. I still think for the betterment of the sport, we want to see both of these guys at their best again.
Oh, for sure.
Hopefully by next year. But at worst, I was saying this morning, is like, just get these guys both healthy and for one last Olympic duel in LA. They'll both be at more Kerr maybe than Jakob. I forget how young Jakob is still, but like Kerr 25. Will be like in his early 30s in 2028. So it's like in the 1500 meter world, that is aging.
Yeah.
Whereas Jakob will be like,
20, to hold on
25, 26.
To hold on to world record form for an additional 2 years does seem like a pretty hefty task.
He's on the top of his game right now.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. That's
honestly, it seems like Brooks Beast is at the top of their game too, because
Brandon Miller.
Kidder paced that perfectly. Brandon Miller 141 smashing.
Brandon Miller
his second or third Diamond League win this summer. He's just on an absolute tear. I did see had a little bit of a.
He's who I'd pick for USA's if we're talking USA's next.
Oh, he scratched.
He scratched?
Yeah. He said he tweaked his ankle at the last Diamond League.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So this is going to lead us into our next topic.
Great segue.
But before my last thing on the Kerr thing, he looks so lean. You can find pictures from Josh Kerr from college where he's chunky. Dude, he ripped his shingle. It's just all ribs. I was like, this dude looks absolutely shredded. He looked like an absolute animal. And he said he hadn't had
black. He was wearing all black, and black is slimming.
Yeah,
and it was a speed suit. And I think score one for the speed suit community. Speed suits are the future of performance. We don't talk about aerodynamics enough in running.
Yeah, I've talked about this with some other people, and they said it's going to take like a Noah Lyles wearing like a complete speed suit, like taking the hair
head to toe, like a morph suit.
Yeah, and like once somebody like that does it, then people will start taking it serious. And I thought that was a pretty good take. But yeah, he said he hadn't had a beer in 7 months, so he obviously, this has been on his mind since before Christmas. He's been absolutely locked in. Yeah, grinding away.
How many beers do you think he could have had in the last 7 months and still broken the world record?
Maybe 1 or 2. It's a fine line.
We'll never know.
We'll never know. But yeah, all right, let's lead that into some USA's talk. I think, honestly, we're both a little bit just, I don't know if deflated or disappointed is the right word, looking at the USATF championships are this weekend. I did see right before we started recording this on Thursday, July 23rd, that my teammate, my boy Vincent Ciotti, won the prelim, got a big Q. He is going to be my pick. I think this is his year. The typical guys like Hawker is not in it. Yard is not in it. Hobbs, Kessler is not in it. I think it's going to open up the door for Vince, someone who's been 4th a couple times at Olympic trials and U.S. championships. He made that world road running team in the mile. I think this is his time to get a U.S. championship. So when this comes out on Sunday, good luck, Vince. I'm calling it for you right now. But yeah, overall, across the board, pretty much all events, a lot of scratches, a lot of just like people not showing up to race USAs, which, yeah, maybe we can talk a little bit about. Is there a way to fix that? Should we even have USAs in an off year?
Yes.
Because the problem is, I totally get it from the athlete's perspective, right? If you're Cole Hawker, if you're Yared, if you're Hobbs, you're racing on the Diamond League circuit, you stand to make a lot more money racing on the Diamond League circuit in Europe. Your performance bonuses are going to be pretty good. You're going to get in fast races. You're going to get a lot of points. You're going to get all these things that, you don't necessarily get. Yeah, you win a USATF championship, you make, what is it, $8,000 or something like that. Like, I'm not saying that's nothing, but these guys are probably making a lot more of that every time they step on the track in the Diamond League. So I think there has to be some type of incentive. I don't know whether it's, you give them extra points or like what it is for winning a USA championship, but we've got to do something because, yeah, it seems, from the sprints to the field events to the distance events, there's just a whole lot of no-shows. And I think that is bad for the sport overall if, your biggest stars aren't showing up to your quote unquote championship race.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the list of notable scratches from the U.S. Championships. I just know I was at the track the other day and I saw all of Mike Smith's swoosh TC at the track working out. I'm like, wait, isn't the USA's in like 48 hours? And I literally was like, Abdi Ahmed Nur was like, aren't you supposed to be in New York right now? And they're like, oh yeah, we're not doing it, man. Like we're all getting ready for Lausanne. And I'm like, Lausanne?
Yeah.
Lausanne what? Like, I was flabbergasted that the entire swoosh TC team, Nike sponsored athletes based in the US, American athletes, top of their game, having good seasons, are just like, nah, we're going to pass, go to Europe and try to run fast. There is a missing incentive either in the contract side, or USATF needs to be more pushing towards incentivizing athletes to doing US championships. I
think maybe it's not even like financial is probably going to be the place that most people go like, oh, there has to be a bigger like it needs to be a $50,000 pot to win. But I think maybe you can solve it even by because these people are going to Europe to race because they want to run fast, because they want to knock out the standard for next year when it counts and they can make a world team basically, right? So maybe we make the U.S. Championship, which I guess is honestly is going to go back to World Athletics more than it is to USATF. But like there has to be some points initiative.
Well, there's tons of points on the line. But
you get more points at a Diamond League.
Yeah, but you're less likely to do well at a Diamond League to get those points. Like, yes, there's a lot of points to be had at a Diamond League, but the guys that are scoring enough points in the Diamond League are not worried about making teams. If you're the Cole Hawkers of the world, you're not worried about the making of the team. To me, it's about like pride. Like, and I think Grant Fisher is one of the notable stars that is lining up. Am I correct in that?
Hopefully.
I think so.
I have it on my phone right here.
But like, why is Grant going and other people are not? Would be the question I have. Like, where is the pride in like showing up and doing this? Like, and I know as a Canadian athlete, I am told by Athletics Canada I have to participate in a national championship every year. And I don't know if USATF has those same incentives, and there's exceptions to the rule, obviously injury, this, that, the other. But like, in order to keep good standing with your federation, they expect you to compete in a national championship every year. And for track guys, that is the only opportunity is the track championships, I guess, indoors and outdoors. But
I'm looking at the 10K start list, which is later this evening. It's in about an hour and a half from now. Grant Fisher, Woody Kincaid. This sounds like bad to me as someone who is in the sport. I don't know most of these other guys' names.
So Grant's going to win.
Yeah, Grant should win going away. Drew Bosley, Acer Iverson, who's been running well, Chandler Gibbons. Nobody else is even under 28 minutes. It's a lot of 28, 20 guys, which is not saying that's not a knock on them at all. Like, they should be trying to take advantage of this opportunity and run fast and score points and set themselves up for future championships. Like, it's not on them, but a lot of stars are missing in this race, right?
Yep. And that's the big bummer is like, why are people scratching? Why isn't there more incentive? It's just like, it's not appointment viewing. I kind of, when we started recording this, we didn't know that the U.S. championships were happening while we were recording. And that just goes, like, most years we would probably be like, oh yeah, we should probably watch that. That's going to be really exciting. I can't wait to see what happens in X race. So
yeah, I went to pull up the start list and I saw the 1500 was already, the 1500 prelims were already over. So
like the Ultimate Championship, which is happening this year, this new idea that apparently Noah Lyles was like co-founded with Sebco, like they're buddies or something. This idea that it's not country dependent. Top 16 in each event are running the Ultimate Championship in Budapest this summer. Does this even matter? Like, is the Ultimate Championship going to be appointment viewing this year in every event that is contested? Or are we going to have guys that are ranked that could go to the Ultimate Championship, like Cooper Lutkenhaus, who already said, my season ends at USA's, even though he's like way ahead on the rankings. Like, if he wants to, he's in. Like, he could do nothing from now till Ultimate, and he's in because of the points he's accumulated throughout the season.
Yeah, that is like a tough one, because like Cooper is like someone who showed up. He raced, so same thing happened indoors, right? Cooper was one of the few big stars that showed up and was like, all right, I'm going to do a full indoor season, and went and wins a world championship, right? I have no doubt that, especially at 17 years old, you win a world championship. That's going to give you so much freaking confidence to take to these Diamond League races and stuff that we've seen. He's won a couple Diamond League races and run super fast. I think that's like awesome for him, and I'm glad he showed up and did these races. I'm glad he's making it a priority to go to USA Outdoors, even if others are choosing not to.
Yep.
But yeah, it's a huge issue in sport, because I mean, yeah, it's almost like I'm trying to think of like a way to, equate this to basketball or football, but I can't really. But
Well,
you
it's
couldn't
like
imagine like your best player not.
load management in basketball. Like
Yeah, it's just
you're
some
going
bullshit, I feel like.
going to a game and you expect to see the star players. You go to tune into U.S. championships, you expect to see the best. And
I do understand it. I understand it from the athlete's point, but I think it's just like it's a letdown for the fans. It's a letdown for everybody kind of involved that our best aren't competing at a U.S. championship.
Yep. All right, let's pivot to the last segment, which we took a few loose listener cues. These are fun ones, not a full mailbag, not a full Q&A episode, but we figured, hey, let's bookend this episode with some fun listener questions. We got some decent ones that I think give us a little bit of juice at the end of this, and we'll kick it off with the first and foremost. If you've been following the Instagram and the Strava live, you know that my athlete that I coach, Truett Haynes, is in town, and a lot of people are asking and fiending for him to come on. And at this moment, we cannot promise a Truett episode, but I can say we're working him. We ran with him this morning. We're working him.
Figure it out.
We're going to try to get him in studio next week, hopefully. But he said I have to be confident in his ability to hit the OTQ before he comes in. So right. he's kind of playing some games with me. He wants you to really do a good coaching job, and then maybe you'll get rewarded with the podcast. That would be a sick one to have. We've been recording here at Run Flagstaff, kind of in their back office location, but maybe that's one. He came in to Run Flag and bought some super shoes to start his camp.
Oh, hell yeah.
Revamped. So he's supporting. He's basically a local now.
Basically a local after you do that. Yeah, if you do that and you go to single speed a couple times, I think you're locked
And the
in.
farmer's market, because it's summertime. Market. Yeah,
that'll be a good one to hit. Maybe that's one we come in after hours when we sit at the front desk. I feel like that visual out there is pretty sweet. He's got the Mount Eldon and Mount Humphreys in the background. It'd be sweet. But yeah, hopefully, one of these coming weeks we'll get Truett on. I think that would be sweet. Obviously,
I can't promise it, but I would say it's getting more and more likely with each passing day.
We just keep dropping little hints at him each day, and maybe we'll get him in here. So next question: if you had to choose one training location to permanently relocate to, for us, anywhere besides Flagstaff, where would you go train? And would you move to Boulder?
That I was going to start with. Obviously, not Boulder. We talked a little bit about this place. There's a few that come to my mind. Park City, Utah.
Yeah,
I think Park City's lovely. A couple people have relocated there in the last several years. It's kind of a budding training location, although Park City people tend to come to Flagstaff in the winter because Park City's a little less runnable in the wintertime. I'm going to go super zag and just go where I want to move regardless of training location.
It's on my list as well.
Southern California.
Yeah.
That's for me. It's like, let's put training aside and just to go quality of life. And I've prioritized training.
Pay those taxes, bro.
Yeah, you got to pay the extra 13%. But if the podcast does well enough, maybe maybe we can justify. But no, I think for me, like Southern California would be like ideal. I'm a sucker for great weather, and it's pretty epic.
So I took altitude out of, when I was thinking about this question, took altitude out of it. So I'm going to pick a couple non-altitude spots. One at the very top of my list was San Diego. I've more than once tried to set it up where I could go even do like a 4-day stint, basically hit like a hard workout, easy run, hard long run or something. And then, because it's only a 6-hour drive from here, people, do it all the time. Terrence Mahone's group kind of goes back and forth. So I've looked at doing that several times. It hasn't worked out. My wife would absolutely love it if I was like, hey, let's go to San Diego for 4 days and get out of Flagstaff. She would love that. So that's one. But I don't think I'm built for that life to pay those California taxes. So
I'm trying to build my life so that I can afford California
to pay those taxes. Yeah. So my next one though, Acadia, Maine.
Acadia, Maine.
They have these great Acadia National Park, great carriage roads. So like when I was in college.
Is this where Ben True trains out of? Or no, he's somewhere.
No, he's up in Vermont. That place is hilly as hell. That place, I would not want to train. I've spent the summer at Dartmouth. My best friend from high school ran at Dartmouth. It was 4 flat miler, and we went up, and a couple of Striegel and a couple of our other buddies went up there and trained for a month, like our junior year of college or something like that. So I've trained in Vermont. It is beautiful, but yeah, I don't know if I would be cut out for that. But you remember the documentary or whatever that came out that was like Merber and Chris Derrick was in it, and all those guys, The Real Maine. Back when we were probably in high school, they trained in Acadia, Maine. So when I was at NC State, it was the year I transferred, and we set up this trip. I had like booked the Airbnb under my name. I like was the one that kind of like collected all the money from everyone and like set everything up. And yeah, we had this NC State guys. We're going to go up to Acadia and stay in this Airbnb. And it was going to be, we're basically going to do our version of the real main. And then I decided to transfer. So I was just like, you guys,
Never mind.
You guys have fun on this trip. Please.
Speaking of other sea level locations, though, I know it's hell right now, but I've heard the triangle.
Yeah.
Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yeah, you see that. You see all the Puma people train there. There's obviously really good runners at NC State and UNC and Wake Forest, all kind of in that, and Duke too, in that area. So that could be another good one. I would say NC State, we had great places to train. You had Tobacco Trail, you had Umstead National Forest. You could get on the track. There's plenty of soft surface and carriage roads and stuff. But I think I'm going to go the Northeast. I'm going to go with Acadia, Maine would be my pick.
I also think Seattle's a pretty nice place to train.
It's so rainy though. It's
Yeah.
dark and I don't like being wet or dark and gloomy. So I think I might have to roll out. That's something Isaac Updike was down here with, staying at my house for like the last 6 weeks, and yeah, we talked about that a lot. And he loves Seattle though.
Pacific Northwest is pretty ideal summers, at least. The winters might be a little seasonal depression, but man, they got epic summers. So,
thanks for the question, Jansen.
Yeah, Jansen, shout out. If you could have one thing from the current era you wish you had in college, what would it be? This is from Patrick, who did our call-in show not that long ago, which, by the way, we're going to bring back. I think we should do our 50th episode as a call-in.
Yeah,
celebrate the 50. He used the examples of carbon shoes, Nomeo and bicarb. Like, what do you wish you had in college? And I would say my initial knee-jerk reaction is it's not even college. It's like high school. I wish I just had the current, and it's not one of these things. It's like access to knowledge. We didn't know anything about training in high school. There wasn't the resources that we have now where like all these kids know exactly what to do. They have all these, like, if you're unhappy with your situation in your high school, like you have a move. Like where you grew up, what high school you ended up going to dictated your success path in like throughout, like, are you going to go to college? Are you going to go D1, D2, all that stuff. So I think it's more like knowledge resources.
I would say my high school coach, of all the coaches I have had, is probably the best X's and O's. Like Jack Daniels table, Jack Daniels formulas, newest stuff, like was always like, he kind of set me up for that. And I think that's like kind of why I got into coaching and stuff. He can kind of, when he started working with me my freshman year of high school, he was like, my goal for you is like, by the time you go to college, like you should be able to write your own training. Like that was like his goal. He's like, I want to be able to give you all this knowledge, you to understand it. So I do think that's something that set me up for college. It set me up for what I'm doing now. Like, yeah, I could have been in a much worse situation and that not worked out for me. So I luckily had that situation. So for me, a non-factor, or like it's not even close, is the carbon shoes. Like,
yeah,
I used to have, it's kind of funny, I just came off of this Achilles issue. Before this Achilles issue, I haven't had Achilles issues since I've been in super shoes, but in college and stuff, wearing, Streak LTs for my tempos and stuff like that, I was just shredded
constantly in calf pain. So, yeah, good answer. I mean, that's probably the most useful tool out of all those. Carbon shoes are pretty.
Yeah, and all the other things I think do, move the needle, but they're moving the needle a lot less than I feel like the accumulation of stuff you could do if we had, super shoes when we were in high school.
All right, we got a couple more. Let's hit this one fast. Your Mount Rushmore of non-majors. So marathons that are not majors. Give your 4 favorite just off the dome.
I'm going to go CIM, Indy. Are we doing just American? Or
you can go everywhere.
All right.
Let's go
CIM,
worldwide.
I'm going to go Indy.
That's crazy that makes the
I'm going
list.
to go Rotterdam. And then Amsterdam.
Okay. I would go just off of what I've seen. Valencia has to be on the podium here. Has to be.
I'll take Valencia over the Indy Monumental. My bad.
I would go Valencia, Seville. So 2 Spain ones. I ran Seville. It's a special place in my heart. And I would put CIM up there. I just think for whatever reason, there's a little bit of CIM magic. Weather's predictable, good for all levels of runners. It's not like just an elite. Like, this is looking holistically. I think CIM's pretty good. And then
something with CIM too is it's really cool to, finish and then look at the finish line right when that like OTQ mark, because there's just a shitload of dudes and women like just sprinting in the last 200 meters, and it seems like a lot of them get it, and then you see the other people coming in like 4 seconds off, 15 seconds off, and they're just completely devastated. So it's it's an emotional roller coaster, like watching when the OT, because I feel like that race is like basically set up. Like if you're going to go for the OTQ, it's outside of a major, probably maybe even including the majors, one of the best places to go.
All right, last one on my list. I'm going to go nostalgia, personal bias, Ottawa. Shout out Canada. Shout out Canada. Shout out my homie Mark Carney.
I have a trip to Canada in 1 month. I've never been to Canada, so I'm excited.
You're going to go visit John Gay, right?
Yep. I'm going to my buddy Isaac's wedding in Seattle, just outside of Seattle, and then we're going to drive up and hopefully get some good training in with our guy John Gay. He's been on the pod before.
Twice, 2-time pod contributor, maybe 3.
Yeah.
Definitely at least 2. No, 3.
Yeah, because we did that one like collab episode that we both posted too.
Yep. And he did the JP Flavin episode with us because you were out of town.
That's right.
All right, simple one. How many miles can you put on your carbon shoes in training?
I have a rough, we'll call it like a vibe science to what I figured out with my carbon shoes. I do think it probably depends on the brand and stuff like that. My first 50 miles, those are race miles.
Yep.
So first 50 miles, that's like they're the best they're going to be. I think they can still be good after 50 miles, but that's when they get relegated to training and to workouts. And I'll wear them probably until 200-ish miles. I would say if I didn't have access to free super shoes, I could probably push that a little bit farther. But usually I start to look to replace them after around 200. So I always have a fresh pair for races pretty much. And then after that, they kind of go on the second rack of shoes, and I kind of circle them in and out for workouts. What about you?
No, I think you nailed it. For me, it's like I'm the wrong person to ask because we live in luxury.
Yeah.
I always go fresh for race, but for training, it's vibes. It's like I just kind of look at it and go, these feel dead or these look dead, and it's probably not even dead. It's like they look worn. And then but we are
they don't look fast anymore.
We are the worst people to ask this question with our privilege that we are honored as sponsored athletes, because I probably have like 6 unopened super shoes that are ready to be called upon when the time comes, and I have like another 8 in rotation that I just kind of like match my outfits with. So kind of a sicko for
match
that.
My outfits with.
All right, this one's really cool. I wanted to ask you this. Ripping off the Bluegrass running camp, somebody said, after spending time coaching kids at your running camp, this is for you specifically, JT, what's something they naturally do that you think adult runners have forgotten or have overcomplicated?
That is interesting. I think something that high school kids particularly do really well is they're super competitive. They love to compete. Sometimes it's like a struggle teaching them goal paces and stuff like that. But I do think they are much more like when they get out there, they don't really care how they feel. They just want to like keep up with their buddies. Like they want to like whatever kind of pain they're in, they don't care. They just want to like keep up with the group. They want to beat this person. I think that competitive drive, especially like in adults and stuff, sometimes like, it's not always super competitive. Like we're more focused on ourselves or more focused on trying to hit our goal time and stuff like that. The kids, I mean, I'm not saying they don't care about times or times aren't important to them, but they're just super competitive. I think that is a big thing that we kind of get drawn out of sometimes, especially like in marathon training, and a lot of people who are just like, oh, I want to hit the OTQ or I want to hit the BQ or whatever.
I wasn't at your camp, but I would say also kids do a better job of not putting themselves in like a permanent box of where they fall in the pecking order.
Oh yeah, they want to like move up like constantly.
Like you talk to an age grouper, they're like, well, for me, like this is where I'm at. I'm kind of stuck here.
Their imaginations are run wild, and I think that is can be a really good thing because they're dreamers and they have stuff they want to do, and they're still going through puberty, and they're still maybe some of them have just started running, so they do have a ton of room to grow. Whereas a 35-year-old who's been hardcore marathon training, like it's going to be a little bit harder for you to get better, but they don't limit themselves. You could be talking to an 18-minute kid and they'll tell you their goal is like
the Olympics.
They don't limit themselves at all. And then from a training thing, they do strides and stuff. I think that's something overlooked but makes a big difference. They sprint. They do stuff like that.
Never stop sprinting. Use it or lose it.
I think that's something we also overlook, myself included.
All right, let's wrap it up there. I think we're good on time. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Out and Back podcast. Go hit the like, subscribe, leave a review.
We're almost at 3,000 followers on Spotify, and we're just short of 1,000 subs on YouTube. So
let's get those numbers up.
Let's get those numbers up. If you could do one thing, to just go subscribe to both of those and give us a 5-star rating, we would appreciate it. We'll see you guys next week.
Yep, maybe with Truett.
Maybe.